Guys, welcome back to Deepak's Daily Reading, and I'm going to be talking about Who Not How, written in its entirety by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, but written in collaboration with Dan Sullivan, based upon a presentation he did in regards to Who Not How, and then it was a collaboration between them two. So written in 2020, and they, I think this is, I don't know if this is the first, but they began a multi-book collaboration, which have clearly, just based upon Audible, have gone on to do very well, driven by Dr. Benjamin Hardy's audience, I presume. Anyway, one of the things it talks about is that the definition of hell is that on your last day on earth, the person you are will meet the person you could have become, and the person you could have become in this context is a limited contextually, because you didn't get in the right the right who's around you to transcend to the next level. So that's interesting, and the whole concept, of course, focuses upon getting the right people on the bus. So I do think that that's something I am working towards. And what's been interesting is that for Pearl Lemon, and this is, I don't know yet if it's where we'll diverge, but for Pearl Lemon, it feels like getting the right people on the bus is getting young, talented people who are as of yet unskilled, but can be trained to deliver at extremely high levels, the best people within the organization. And to be honest with you, they don't even necessarily need to be young. There's a big teaching element within Pearl Lemon. And if I look at the people that have made strong progression, if I look at Sorab, if I look at Viva, if I look at Sorab with a B, if I look at Lydia, if we look at fundamentally even the SEO team, with how we've rebuilt a lot of processes and focused upon shifting and changing things. If I see the development of Shanae, if I even look at Grant's development in the last 30 to 45 days, etc., there's been a lot of development. And I think that the who's within Pearl Lemon as a team are based around culture and work ethic, and then fundamentally, culture, work ethic, and ability to learn, and talent is there in combination, but not with the skills they bring to the table. So that's an interesting shift away from perhaps some of the fundamentals of Who Not How, although it could rather be my interpretation of Who Not How. The problem that's challenging is that I've built a lot of the hows, and then I can give people a process, and if people can deliver that process, then fantastic. So I'll circle back to this because it's interesting to read this in view of some of what I'm seeing, my beliefs. So anyway, we'll go on with some of the book. The only way to make your present bigger is by present better is by making your future bigger. So the only way to make your present better is by making your future bigger. And this relates to what Dr. Benjamin Hardy calls perspection, where the best way to achieve in your life is to visualize, of course, future goals, visualize amazing outcomes, and then your mind will subconsciously start working towards how to achieve that. So you visualize the huge house with the swimming pool, or the mansion with the farm and the swimming pool, and then your mind starts working to drive towards that. So that's the idea. Some other interesting elements is that entrepreneurship. This is taken from Gino Wickman, who wrote Traction, and Gino Wickman's the founder of the EOS system. I think is that the Entrepreneur's Operating System or something to that effect. It's a very well known within the entrepreneurial community, particularly in North America, business organization where they talk about how to build businesses that could run by themselves. But nonetheless, and within that, Gino Wickman, from what I recall from this book, says that entrepreneurship tends to show up in people's teens, which rings true with me because I began my rapping, let's say, at 14, and from there my entrepreneurial path began, emceeing rather, and then I joined a rap battling group. I wasn't that interested in education, and music became my creative path through to entrepreneurship. And one of the first things that the book will talk about, as you can see from the screenshot, is this concept of freedom of time. And it seems that the first striking desire for entrepreneurs, and this is now going back to what Dan Sullivan believes, and he's been an entrepreneur for over 50 years. He's 78 or 79 years old today at the time of recording this. The first striking desire seems to be freedom of time more than anything else, with the idea being that if someone has a dominion over your time, this is exactly what they don't want. So the number one focus is on creating time. the way that I relate that to Pearl Lemon is that we're all remote. People work from home. People are expected to, of course, put in the time, but they can manage their time as they see fit, and they can do it across the course of the day. And there is a ability for people to determine what it is that they want to work on within Pearl Lemon, as long as they make a case, and people can shift between departments, and there's always continual opportunity to grow and to develop. So that's the way that I try and build in some of those concepts within Pearl Lemon, and why we're entirely remote, and people don't need to be tethered to any location, and there's a very informal culture with WhatsApp here. So these are some of the insights and takeaways from this book. And now going back to how this relates to some of my beliefs and where we might run counter to some of these concepts, is that I do believe that at some level, if you can build people through rotating across departments, and build people by giving them continuous training and education, that you can build something akin to the master of all and the jack of none. But people can achieve high levels of competency across all disciplines if they take on the ultra learning approach and integrate different bodies of information quickly and effectively, and then apply ultimately that across different units, that you can achieve a very high level of competency, which for true mastery is not mastery, but still a very high standard. And that's where the power of cross-functionality and anti-specialism comes in. That at Pearl Lemon, we believe in building cross-functional individuals. We believe in not specializing singularly, but having an all-round ability across departments. The rationale being that in 80% of the time, the problem is the area in which you can achieve the highest leverage is just adhering to the fundamentals. So a simple example will be that, well, if you want to put on muscular mass, the simplest thing is that you need a calorie intake that's higher than your calorie expenditure. So that's the core fundamental. And of course, it needs to be a healthy diet. So if you can stick to those two fundamentals, it'll do more for you than any deep specialism in terms of an exact macro, carb or protein complex form. Of course, you'll achieve greater results, but the reality is people don't do the fundamentals. So these are my takeaways from Who Not How, and my own thoughts that don't run entirely in opposition to it, but just some of my thinking. So this makes sense, and that's everything for today.